Hello and welcome to NOV Live. I'm Michael Gaines, host of the podcast NOV Today, and glad you are joining us as we continue a conversation that we've had on, what we're doing to bring increased content and conversation to you and those that are interested in what NOV is doing and others are doing in the energy space. So today we're actually going to be talking with Assaad Mohanna, who is Director of Business Strategy here at NOV. So, hey, Assaad, thanks for joining.
Hey, Michael, thank you.
So I know that you're a familiar face here on NOV Live, and I think some of the feedback that we've had over the last several months is that folks really appreciate the insight that you're able to provide kind of from a business and strategy standpoint on the program. And I think I echo that sentiment as well, to the point of where, as a team, we've actually looking to create a whole segment, a whole show, a standalone show coming up here soon called Ask Assaad, same name, but we're going to be able to dive in a little bit deeper and take the opportunity to engage with folks in this kind of format. So I know that pretty much every week I say, okay, Assaad Mohanna, Director of Business Strategy, but I know that there's a little bit more to your background and really how you got to the point of where you're calling yourself the Director of Business Strategy. So for those that aren't familiar with maybe your background, do you mind just providing a little bit of insight to help folks give some context as to why we're going to be moving to have this whole standalone show?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Good to be here. The shows we've been having have been, I think, pretty good. The feedback's been positive. Trying to share the insight that we've historically done in the past exclusively for an internal audience. The difference is that now we're using this platform to take it out and share some of the insights that we come up with for the different businesses about the industry, about the market trends, and the things that we follow, and the audience may have noticed, and the economics of the oil field, what happens, kind of tracking the costs and tracking where the money is being spent and how customers are getting value from products that we provide. The other thing that we're also keeping a pulse on is technology integration, and how does that play a role in advancing performance, whether on the drilling or on the completion or production side. And the integration part is also important because to overcome the siloed nature of large organizations, that's also a role that we play in to kind of bring it all together, all while looking at business model innovation, which isn't quite a thing that caught on too much attention, but I think it's very critical in terms of how do you get product to market, or how do you highlight that value. You could have the best product out there, but not always address the right pain, or frame it in a way that's not attractive to what the customers are looking for. But I appreciate the question about my background. I've been with NOV for about 13 years now, and I've started my career with NOV with the drilling and intervention business, which is now partly downhole, partly reed high-log. And that has been a great formation for me, because that's where I got my various operations roles. Kind of got my hands dirty in the drilling and intervention world, and that's today part of our NOV Wellbore Technologies business. But if I track back and to where my career started, it was really, and how this all formed, it's part of working summer jobs as a car mechanic in local dealerships like Hyundai and Nissan. It was awesome seeing some of the first models of the Nissan GTR coming out. Some 500 horsepower is right in front of you. That was good to see when at that age.
I gotta stop you. I have known you for a while, and this is the first time that I've heard that you started an auto shop. I wish anyway. Well, I don't want to interrupt your story. Go ahead, but that's really interesting. Sorry, go ahead. I'm focused. I'm a car guy, so I can help myself.
I'll get the lights on behind me. Yeah. Automatic lights. Do it again. But yeah, so that's where I kind of got my hands around mechanics and how to look at things from an engineering perspective. So I grew an interest in engineering, which is when I went to engineering school, and that was at the American University of Beirut in Lebanon. And I got my training in mechanical engineering. And of course, back then, mechanical engineering, I thought that was the best thing in the world. It still is, but of course, with everything being digital today, you have to do a lot of reprogramming to the brain. But I mean, having that engineering background certainly helps. So it gets me to dig deep into some of the conversations that we're having today around energy transition and digital transformation. From there, I did a summer job in Dearborn in the U.S. I came to the U.S. Lebanon was in turmoil. It was 2006, and I got this job in Dearborn with an engineering company that does construction work. So I again grew my passion around that space. Did a little support job for the O'Hare Airport in Chicago. So getting all of a sudden that exposure to the big world, that was a again eye-opening. Went back to Lebanon when things cooled down and got the chance to get my mechanical engineering degree by then. Graduated, and right off, I mean, I had a bunch of offers, but of course back then, 2007, things were looking good. Joined NOV in Dubai, and that was my first job after graduating from school. And there I started in the service shop. It's servicing our drilling motors, drilling tools, drilling jars, kind of in coveralls all day in the nice heat of the August time in Dubai. And from there, kind of gotten more into more of an engineering aspect of the role, engineering support to the district, to the region, and kind of got more involved applications role with our customers. Then again, it's less operationally, more engineering side. NOV sent me to Edmonton in Canada, where our engineering group sat, and that's where I kind of understood the engineering behind our technology. I understood the capability of our engineering teams and the breadth of the scope that we're capable of, and that really enabled me to go back to the region and say, you know what, here's what we've got. Here's how we can change things. And I had the chance to get involved with some really cool designs of drilling motors that are still in use today. Spent some time back in Dubai, but then that was it. The honeymoon phase of my career was done by then. Then somebody thought, hey, maybe it's a good idea to send Assaad to Saudi Arabia, which for a bachelor, I tell you, Michael, it's not the greatest place to spend time on. But with all seriousness, that's probably where I got my teeth really sunk into the operations world. That's really where I got my career to boost into really understanding what 300 rigs look like, all running within a few miles or dozens of miles away from you. All the issues that you could have on rigs. That was really a career on steroids. So it's 4 or 5 years that I spent in Saudi, and I built excellent relationships across the different companies, with Saudi Aramco being the main customer, but also all the service companies around there. In 2014, I was getting done with my 4 or 5 years in Saudi. I'm like, you know what, maybe it's time. Started planning to move to Canada back then because I wanted to go back to Edmonton. I thought it was pretty cool. It was nice and chill. And that's actually by then where I had my professional engineering license gotten from Alberta. So I got my PEng. I'm like, that's it. That's where I need to finish my career. Maybe that same day when I was submitting my application or whatever, that's maybe the same week at least. I get a call from Houston, and there's a position, and the guys were like, do you want to move to the US? I'm like, yeah, not a bad deal. So I came in 2014, not the best year, but I worked as a product line manager for drilling tools, and 3 years ago in 2017 moved to this strategy team. Yeah, that's my background, Michael.
Yeah, so car mechanic to business strategist. I think you have quite a bit to talk about and share.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll also tell you, Michael, in terms of what we do as this role, and to kind of how this show helps. Like I said, this has been an internal audience for the most part of the show for the last several weeks. and the service that we provide, or the value that we bring, is one similar to, say, a management consulting internal support team, or an advisory group in a lot of cases, but strategy formulation and implementation in some cases too. So we work with the businesses internally and externally. We work with our partners, with our customers, with E&Ps, with drilling contractors. And we find ways where, if there's a technology that's not out there, how do we come up with it? If there's a solution that needs to be come up with, or there's a new business model that should be framed where multiple players are involved, that's where we come in and provide that help. We do a lot of market analysis. I mentioned market, oil field economics, some of the different aspects of where's the money being spent, how do we integrate technology together, and the business model again. That's really how we've been doing this internally, and I think that's what's been bringing value, and that's what we're about to share in the Ask Assaad show.
Right. So yeah, and so for those that may have joined us in the last couple of minutes, been talking with Assaad Mohanna, who's the Director of Business Strategy here at NOV, was able to get a little bit of insight and background on Assaad's career journey, and of course he's a familiar face on the NOV live show, and so we're going to be creating a new live show called the Ask Assaad Show. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about that in detail on what the show is. And so we're going to bring in Shelby Dumaine. So Shelby is regular here as well, so our digital communication specialist. So Shelby, thanks for being here today as well. So wanted to see, for those that are curious and, okay, well, I'm familiar with Assaad, I understand his background, kind of why, he would have a show and what he would talk about. Can you maybe give a little bit of more perspective for those that are watching now, saying, okay, help me understand the nuts and bolts. What is the show how is it gonna run? How are people gonna participate? All those things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So before I get into the specifics, I also wanted to mention, some of our audience, maybe the people who tune in every week, might notice that last week and this week, we're talking a lot about the future of NOV Live and these live shows that we do. And that's because we really are being intentional about what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, and what we're going to talk about and bring to our audience every week. So normally at our 11 o'clock show on Wednesdays, that will still happen every Wednesday at 11 here, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. And we're going to be talking a lot about technology, really specific, get into the specifications of that and really geek out on that tech. And now with the Ask Assaad show, which will be at 1:30 p.m. CST, same Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, that's where we're going to be talking to Assaad about, like you said, the industry and market trends, and really get into what those techs or what it all means in the bigger picture. So what that's going to look like is we're going to kind of section the show up into two parts. The first part, we're going to focus on one big question. So every week, just like we ask Assaad questions all the time internally when we're in the office, every week we will be asking Assaad one big question. What we want to focus on this area of the industry, and we're gonna hear his expertise and that good information. And then the second half of the show, this is really where we want Assaad to be able to answer everybody else's questions, everyone online. And the way we're going to do that to make sure that Assaad, so that you can have time to research and really bring the best answers possible, we're actually going to be gathering those questions from you, our audience, before we go live each week. And the ways you can do that is you can comment them on past Ask Assaad shows. So for example, if you would like to ask Assaad a question that he will answer next week, you can comment it down below, and we're going to be going through those comments the next few days and the next week and gathering them and seeing what y'all are asking and really getting good answers. Another way you can have your questions asked is to email askassaad@nov.com. So it's on the screen now. So you can email that. You can send in a video. You can send in a recording. If you just want to type it, if you want to keep it anonymous, you can do that as well. Any way you want to ask your question, we're happy to receive those. And we're going to, like I said, Assaad's going to go do the genius work that he does and get the best possible answers. And so we'll have, like I said, so we're going to have that big question we'll be asking Assaad, and then we're going to go through our mailbag, so to speak, everybody's questions and get to, so that we can answer everyone online.
I
Right.
don't know about genius, Shelby, but it's certainly valuable. Thank you for that. Let me give an example of some of the questions that we've typically had, or whether internally or externally. And this could range from being industry specific, or specific to the oil field industry. I'm talking about things like what's happening in fracking today, or what's the what technology e-fracking, for instance, how's that developing and gaining grounds, or what's going on offshore. And what's that market looking like? It could be as general as that. It could be narrower down, all the way down to how are fluid ends progressing in terms of technology, and how have various players in the market contributed to increasing the life cycle or the lifetime of a fluid end, and what's the cost of owning one. So it could be a varying range, right? As specific, and that's the type of questions we get internally, right? That's what we do as a strategy group at NOV. Or how has the shale boom evolved over time, and what's up? It could be various things related to industry, but it could also be geographic specific. Sometimes you get questions about what's happening in Argentina, what's going on in this Russia, in this particular market, how's the Middle East evolving in the middle of all this market trends. And it could be industry broad, right? The oil field is one thing, but it could also be what's going on in renewables, or specifically in solar, and what are some various players doing in different spaces. So there's a wide range of scope. I mean, we can't get into all of them with equal depth, but the visibility, the tools that we have, the resources that we have access to, I think give us a little bit of an edge that we're happy to share here.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I think it'll be a really great conversation, and for those that are watching, want to just reemphasize both what Assaad and especially what Shelby mentioned is that yeah, we want to be able to provide relevant information and insight, and so yeah, we'll say it several times, but you can just send an email even starting today. So askassaad@nov.com, and Assaad will be getting those, and we'll be working to provide the best insight and content that we can for you, because we know that there's a level of shared knowledge that we all want to know and grow and understand kind of what's going on around us in all spaces, and so that's what we're looking to provide here with our strategist and past car mechanic, Assaad Mohanna. So yeah. So, and again, Shelby, just remind folks what time and day, just so we don't forget.
So the Ask Assaad Show will be every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. That's Central Standard Time. So again, I feel like I can't say it enough. 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's where we're going to be talking about the industry and answering your questions every week.
Great. All right. Well, looking forward to those conversations coming up. And again, this is your show, so feel free to send your questions. Again, whether you'd like for us to mention you on air, whether you'd like for it to be anonymous, whether you want to put it in the comments here, or you can email us at Ask Assaad. We want to make this a conversation that's relevant and beneficial for you. So feel free to send that, and we'll be providing actually a phone number in the very near future as well. So if you'd like to call and leave a message, you can do that as well. So that'll be it for today's show. We thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. And again, look forward to seeing you on the Ask Assaad Show, 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays. So from all of us here at NOV, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.